I did speak with some neighbors of Richard Allen who watched on Thursday, October 13th, as investigators searched his house. They saw the investigators arrive just before noon and asked Richard and his wife to exit their home and remain outside, where they did remain outside for the entire day. The entire process took about 12 hours. We have exclusively obtained 4 images showing that search. In the first image, it is a bit from a distance. You see 2 men standing. One has his back to the camera, the other is side to the camera, and just over the man with his back to the camera, just over his right side, you can see the shoulder and head of Richard Allen, who is standing outside of his wife's vehicle. The neighbors tell me that his wife sat in the vehicle for several hours. He stood outside of it. At some point, he did get in the vehicle with her. The second image shows him sitting in the front passenger seat of that vehicle. My understanding is that for several hours, while they kept Richard and his wife outside of their home and in the driveway of their small neighborhood, that investigators also remained outside. And as it approached nightfall, the neighbors tell me that they saw Carroll County Sheriff's Deputy, Chief Deputy Tony Liggett, who they know, who is a member of the task force and was on the stage here today. He arrived with a piece of paper. He took that paper over to Richard Allen and showed it to him. And it was after that that a tow truck arrived and the officers went into the house. One of the neighbors watched with binoculars as he says investigators came out of the house with several items. They had 2 large bundles of what he described as dark-colored cloth. Perhaps it was clothing, but he said it was getting dark at that point and he couldn't identify it for sure as clothing. But 2 bundles of some sort of dark cloth. They also took out a Macy's shopping bag and a shoebox.
2 bundles of cloth, a Macy's shopping bag, and a shoebox.
The neighbors also watched as 2 areas near Richard Allen's shed in his backyard were searched. They were described to me as being rather small areas. One, in fact, being so small that they thought perhaps only something like a bottle cap could have come out of.
And it's good this come out as well, because I was getting a lot of comments because I was putting up the stuff about the search 2 weeks ago, and people were like, Murder Sheet said there was no search. There was no search. Why are you spreading misinformation? Clearly, there was a search. There was a search.
Murder Sheet aren't law enforcement. They're just not.
Yeah, but like, what is a bottle cap? Like, not... how can someone...
Could be a ring. Could be a ring, could be a necklace, could be a knife facing downwards. It could be anything. Like, it doesn't matter if it's wide or... I don't want to be doing that motion, but...
If you're searching such a small area like that, that feels like someone has literally put a pin on a map and said, right here, like, you know?
That's why I think Keegan the pig squealed. I really do.
But how would he know the location out back and there's no connection yet? But it is complex, like they're saying. She go on to say
that area is still undisturbed. Nobody has been at Richard Allen's home since Wednesday of last week, when it is my understanding that he was taken into custody and in court.
So I was right about that as well, about him being in since for 2-3 days.
So these are images from October 13th from the neighbors. They describe him. They tell me they've lived a few houses down from him for several years. They said there was really nothing special about him. He was very quiet. They didn't have many visitors over. They didn't have parties or anything like that. And they were very quiet neighbors. They would see Richard when he'd come home from work, and he would sit out in his driveway and sit in a lawn chair and have a few beers and a few cigarettes. But they said there was never any trouble from their neighbors. They had no idea when this search happened, what was going on. And then on Friday, as the news started to break that there had been a major development in this case, they called a family member of Liberty German that they know, and she indicated that their neighbor might, in fact, be connected to this case. So very interesting developments here.
Yeah, that's good. We literally we got more from that than we did from the press conference today.